For almost a decade, AI assistants were glorified voice-controlled timers. You'd ask Siri a question, she'd misunderstand it. Alexa would start playing the wrong song. Google Assistant would answer something you never asked. And after trying the same command 3 times, most people just pressed the button themselves. These things weren't intelligent. They were voice-controlled shortcut menus pretending to understand English. Then, almost overnight, the entire industry changed. Apple rebuilt Siri around AI. Microsoft stuffed Copilot into Windows. Google replaced Assistant with Gemini. Even Teslas can now hold conversations through Grok. Suddenly, these things are summarizing emails, writing code, browsing the web, and in some cases, literally looking at what's on your screen, which means they're seeing more of your digital life than ever before. Choosing an assistant isn't about who tells the weather fastest anymore. It's about deciding which trillion-dollar company you trust to become your digital coworker. And the funniest part? One assistant people still remember fondly is already gone. Microsoft quietly shut down Cortana in 2023, and most people barely noticed. So let's break down every major AI assistant and what each one is actually good at. Starting with the one that turned voice into a business model, Amazon Alexa. Because Amazon didn't win the smart speaker race by building the smartest assistant. It won by making the cheapest speakers. For years, Echo Dots were everywhere. Prime Day, Black Friday, almost every holiday sale. Sold at prices so low, some analysts believe Amazon barely made a profit on the hardware at all. Because the speaker was never really the product. You were. Amazon hoped people would fill their homes with Alexa and start shopping by voice. Alexa, order paper towels. Alexa, reorder dog food. It sounded like the future, except almost nobody shopped that way. Instead, Alexa became everyone's kitchen timer. Weather, lights, Spotify, and alarms they immediately snoozed the next morning. The shopping revolution never happened, so after spending billions, Amazon asked the obvious question. How do we actually make money from this thing? The answer was AI. Amazon rebuilt it with generative AI, and the result is Alexa Plus. Now it remembers previous conversations, answers complicated questions, plans trips, and holds a conversation without you repeating the wake word every 30 seconds. It feels less like a voice menu and more like talking to ChatGPT through a smart speaker. There's just one tiny detail. It costs $19.99 per month, unless you're already an Amazon Prime member, in which case it's included. They divided the internet instantly. Millions bought Echo speakers years ago because Alexa was advertised as a built-in feature, and seeing a subscription bolted onto something they'd owned for years didn't go over well. And honestly, charging $20 a month for an assistant that's been confidently setting the wrong alarm since 2015 takes a level of optimism most startups could only dream of. Google Assistant. For a long time, Google Assistant was quietly the best of the old guard. If you actually wanted a correct answer to a factual question, it usually beat Siri and Alexa without much competition. It was fast, accurate, and lived on over 1 billion Android devices. So naturally, Google is killing it. Throughout 2026, Google is replacing the classic assistant with Gemini across nearly all Android phones. On most devices, the old assistant simply won't be accessible anymore, whether you asked for the change or not. And the upgrade itself is genuinely massive. Gemini is multimodal, meaning it can see your screen, understand what's on it, and hold a flowing back-and-forth conversation instead of answering one rigid command at a time. It's deeply wired into Gmail, Docs, Drive, and Maps. So if your entire life already runs on Google, it basically arrives knowing your context. There are 2 catches. The first is Google's legendary habit of killing its own products, and you're literally watching it happen in real time to Assistant, which makes you wonder how long any given feedback will stick around. The second is the quieter one, an assistant that's seeing your screen. This is the same company that funds itself with advertising. There's no measurable evidence Gemini steers factual answers, but it's worth being aware of. The same way you'd think twice about restaurant reviews from someone who owns the restaurant. And that Google situation actually points at the bigger problem with all of this. Every assistant locks you into one company's AI. Alexa gives you Amazon's, Siri leans on Google's, Copilot is Microsoft's. So you're either paying for several of them or picking one and hoping it's good at everything. Which is exactly why the sponsor of today's video is something I actually started using myself, ChatLLM by Abacus AI. Instead of trapping you inside one ecosystem, ChatLLM by Abacus AI puts all the top AIs in one place. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, DeepSeek, the newest models like GPT 5.5 and Opus 4.7 under a single login. And you don't even have to know which one to pick, because a feature called Root LLM actually reads your prompts and sends it to the best model for the job. But it's not just chat. From that same window, you can generate images and video using the top models like Seedance, Kling, Nano Banana, and more. And there's a humanize feature that makes your text actually sound like you instead of a robot. Its AI agent can even build deep researched presentations and full-stack apps and websites, with Stripe payments built in, just by chatting with it, no coding. The best part? It's $10 a month. That's cheaper than a single one of these AI subscriptions, and you're getting all of them, plus the ability to build almost anything. Check it out at chatllm.abacus.ai, or click the link in the description. Now, back to the assistants. Microsoft Copilot. When Microsoft killed Cortana, it didn't leave Windows without an assistant for long. It replaced her with something far more ambitious, Copilot. And then Microsoft proceeded to put Copilot absolutely everywhere. It's built into Windows 11, Microsoft 365, Edge, Teams, Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And if that wasn't enough, Microsoft convinced keyboard manufacturers to add an actual Copilot key, the first brand new dedicated Windows key in nearly 30 years. The interesting part is that Copilot is genuinely useful. In Word, it drafts documents in seconds. In Excel, it explains formulas that normally require a computer science degree. In Teams, it summarizes meetings you missed. In Outlook, it drafts emails you didn't want to write in the first place. It basically acts like an intern who never sleeps. And unlike a real intern, it doesn't steal your lunch from the office fridge. The problem isn't what it can do. It's how aggressively Microsoft wants you to use it. It appeared on the taskbar, then in Office, then in Edge, then on keyboards. Then came Recall, an AI feature that took snapshots of your screen so you could search your computer's past activity like rewinding time. It got delayed and heavily revised after widespread privacy backlash, but it showed just how ambitious Microsoft's plans had become. Some users loved it. Others immediately asked why their computer suddenly wanted to photograph everything they were doing. Quick question. Have you ever intentionally pressed the Copilot key on your keyboard? Drop a yes or no in the comments, and if this video is finally making the AI assistant world a little less confusing, hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel. Apple Siri AI. Apple spent years insisting it was taking a different approach to AI. While Google, Microsoft, and OpenAI raced ahead with chatbots, Apple stayed unusually quiet. Then WWDC 2026 happened, and Apple finally answered by borrowing Google's brain. Apple integrated a custom version of Gemini into Siri through private cloud compute. Simple requests, reminders, messages, opening apps, still run directly on your iPhone. But when you ask something more complicated, Siri securely hands the request to Google's model after anonymizing the data. It's the biggest change Siri has received since it launched back in 2011, and honestly, it was long overdue. Now Siri can actually do intelligent things. The problem is, not everyone gets it. Apple's basic AI features work on the iPhone 15 Pro and newer, but the most advanced on-device models need 12 gigabytes of RAM, meaning the full experience is reserved for devices like the iPhone 17 Pro, 17 Pro Max, and iPhone Air. So two people can both own relatively new iPhones and still get completely different versions of Siri, which is a little awkward if you bought your phone right after watching Apple's keynote. Apple spent years saying it would build AI differently from everyone else. Then, when the pressure became impossible to ignore, it licensed Google's technology anyway. That's a very Apple move. They didn't enter the AI race first, they just showed up late wearing a much nicer suit. ChatGPT Voice. Unlike almost every assistant so far, ChatGPT doesn't belong to your phone. It doesn't care whether you're on Windows, Android, Mac OS, or an iPhone. It simply lives inside the ChatGPT app. And somehow, that's become one of its biggest strengths. Instead of trying to control your smart home or replace your operating system, ChatGPT focuses on one thing: having genuinely good conversations. Its advanced voice mode is one of the most natural AI voice experiences available today. You can interrupt it, change topics halfway through, ask follow-ups, even accidentally talk over it, and it responds surprisingly like a person would. The biggest advantage is that it works almost anywhere. No specific phone, no smart speaker, no switching operating systems. If your device can open the app or a browser, you're good to go. But that freedom comes with one big limitation. ChatGPT isn't the boss of your phone. Unlike Siri, Gemini, or Alexa, it doesn't automatically know your calendar, control your lights, or unlock your front door unless you've manually connected those services. It's the best conversationalist on this list, but probably the worst butler. It'll happily explain quantum mechanics for half an hour. It just can't turn your bedroom lights off when you're done. Grok. Most AI assistants live in your pocket. Grok decided to move into your car. Built by xAI, Grok is now integrated into newer Teslas, where you can activate it with a simple, "Hey Grok." And unlike the old voice systems in most cars, this one can actually hold a conversation. You can ask questions, discuss current events, get navigation help, brainstorm, or just chat on a long drive. It feels surprisingly natural. The catch is that Grok is still more passenger than driver. Despite living inside one of the most advanced cars on the road, it has limited control over the vehicle's actual functions. As Tesla expands what Grok can control, it'll almost certainly get more capable. Bixby by Samsung. Samsung launched Bixby in 2017 with real ambition. The idea was that Bixby wouldn't just answer questions. It would control your entire phone by voice, navigate menus, change settings, tap through apps for you. On paper, it was arguably more powerful than Siri at launch, because it could actually operate the device instead of just fetching answers. The problem was everything else. It struggled to understand commands, and became famous mostly for the dedicated Bixby button people immediately tried to remap to literally anything else. Now Samsung is rebuilding Bixby with generative AI and blending it with its Galaxy AI features, while also, somewhat awkwardly, partnering with Google to put Gemini on the same phones. So Samsung is in the strange position of shipping two AI assistants at once and quietly letting you decide which one wins. Cortana. And that brings us to the one we teased at the very beginning. Before Copilot, before Alexa dominated living rooms, before Google Assistant was on a billion phones, Microsoft had a plan. And for a brief moment, it genuinely looked like it might work. Cortana launched in 2014 alongside Windows Phone, then moved to Windows 10 in 2015. Microsoft's pitch was ambitious. This wasn't just a voice assistant. It was a personal productivity companion that would sit at the center of your digital life, learn your schedule, anticipate your needs, and connect everything across your PC, your phone, and your Xbox. Microsoft even named her after the AI character from Halo, which points for commitment. And early on, Cortana was actually pretty good. She could set reminders based on context from your emails, track flights, manage your calendar, and do it all with a personality that felt more human than the competition at the time. For Windows users deep inside Microsoft's ecosystem, it made a genuine case for itself. The problem was everything outside that ecosystem. Windows Phone collapsed, taking Cortana's mobile presence with it. When Microsoft tried expanding her to iOS and Android, she was competing on devices where Siri and Google Assistant were already the default. And nobody changes their default assistant on someone else's platform. Meanwhile, Alexa and Google Assistant were flooding living rooms with cheap hardware. And Cortana had no speaker, no device, and no real answer to that. Microsoft kept trying. Cortana showed up in Outlook, in Teams, in Skype. The integrations got narrower each year. She didn't die from one big failure. She died from a slow accumulation of smaller ones. And eventually, a competitor so much bigger that Microsoft decided the smarter move was to stop defending the past and build something new entirely. That something new is Copilot. Honorable mention: open source and local AI. Not everyone is comfortable letting Apple, Google, Microsoft, or Amazon watch what they're doing. So a growing number of people skip the big tech assistants entirely and run AI locally on their own computers. Instead of a cloud service, these assistants are powered by open source models like Llama or Mistral. Everything runs on your hardware, which means your chats, files, and screen data never leave your computer. That's the whole point: privacy. The catch is that running powerful models locally still needs a fairly capable computer. And setup isn't as simple as downloading an app, though tools like Ollama and LM Studio have made it much easier. But if your biggest question is who's reading my screen, this is the only assistant where the answer is wonderfully simple: nobody but you. So after all that, which AI assistant should you actually pick? If you're on Android, it's probably Gemini. Google is replacing Assistant across Android anyway, so it's making the decision for you. If you're on an iPhone, Siri AI is the obvious choice. Just double-check your phone actually supports the features Apple showed on stage before getting too excited. If you live inside Windows and Office, Copilot is genuinely useful once you get past Microsoft's relentless enthusiasm for putting it everywhere. If you own a Samsung, you're stuck between a reborn Bixby and Gemini on the same phone, and Google usually wins that fight. If you just want the most natural conversations, ChatGPT Voice is the hardest one to stop talking to. And if privacy matters more than convenience, running Llama or Mistral locally is the closest thing to an AI that's truly yours. And that's every major AI assistant, from the death of Cortana and Alexa's surprise subscription, to Apple borrowing Google's brain and a Tesla that talks back. Which assistant are you using right now, and which one do you trust the least? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, here's the thing. Every assistant you just watched is basically a friendly face bolted onto a large language model. Siri's leaning on Gemini, Copilot's running GPT, Grok's got its own thing entirely. And those models are way more different from each other than the companies want you to realize. I broke down every single one of them and what they're actually good at, and which ones are quietly overrated in this next video. Click on screen right now, and I'll see you there.